They're here.
Guys, the classic horror train rolls on Winter Wolf's Den, and today I'm going to go way back to 1982's Poltergeist. A Tobe Hooper directed, you might know him from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Steven Spielberg written, scored by legendary Jerry Goldsmith, and Frank Marshall produced film that's been terrifying audiences for decades. But don't worry, Darth Kennedy was still getting coffee and making terrible suggestions back then. The story is fairly straightforward, and I think that lends itself to the film's longevity. The Freeling family is readily recognizable from the American suburban late 70s, early 80s. Dad's a successful real estate agent, mom's an attractive stay-at-home mom type who dotes over the three kids. You've seen this before. After the youngest child, Carol Ann, seemingly contacts a presence manifesting through their television. Nope, not flat panels, we get the big boxy ones, you gotta go check that out. Little by slow, the great-grandfather of the Paranormal Activity franchise makes itself known. What starts off as small things, chairs moving, then chairs stacking, electrical issues, and then quickly culminates in Carol Ann's abduction into a parallel spirit realm. Unsure of how to get the baby girl back, the Freelings reach out to a local team of academic paranormal investigator types, and totally not the Ghostbusters. Does it hold up? Let's find out. Current studio executives should hold mandatory watch parties of Poltergeist for their writers, especially the younger ones. Poltergeist takes full advantage of its 115-minute runtime, with each scene setting up the next and constantly moving the story forward. Unlike a good chunk of today's horror entries with padded runtimes and pointless subplots that go nowhere, Poltergeist really is the simple story of a terrified family trying to recover their youngest child from the grips of a malevolent supernatural entity that they just can't understand. No, not that one. There's no pointless teen pregnancy, dad's a drunk, mom's banging the construction worker subplot to distract us from the tension the family's experiencing that's just increasing minute by minute. The performances are on point, but I can see where some of it might come across as a little bit cheesy by today's standards. That said, it's still more competent and thoughtfully done than most of the garbage we've seen in mainstream horror franchises these days. Heather O'Rourke as Little Carol Ann deserves all the credit in the world for playing near-perfect balance of innocence and fear when she's called upon. And JoBeth Williams as an actual strong female character kills it as the mom at her wit's end, but who's still going to go to the mat for her baby girl. We're not here for performances. We're not even here for special effects, guys. We're here for thrills and chills. That's what Poltergeist is all about. And the movie's been terrifying families and people for decades. So let's talk scares. Poltergeist is probably responsible for as many nightmares as an Amy Schumer OnlyFans page reveal, let's be honest. You got the creepy clown doll, grabby tree demon, we got the watching you sleep goldfish, we got a couple of fine for the time optical effects, giant spider looking thing with skull face, and even more giant skull that just kind of erupts through a door at one point. And we got one really disgusting, I'll call it a facial reconstruction procedure that happens. Next level gross, and if I'm being a little honest, it was a little out of place for the rest of the films, just the tone and what they actually delivered on screen in terms of effects, things like that. And once the tension kicks in, it's constantly on an upward trajectory, and that's a good thing. It never deviates for a second to waste time or bore the audience with crap you don't need to know. The characters' various responses to feeling fear were authentic, appropriate, they weren't overstated or overblown. The dad, who's the skeptic in the couple, kind of just withdraws into himself but never becomes non-participatory. He's always there, he's always trying to do the right thing. And the mom, who's the more open-minded one, actively works toward working with the paranormal investigators they bring in. She's trying to better understand the paranormal so she can figure out a way to save her daughter. Or even with the middle kid who never leaves his mother's side after his sister's abduction. It's all played very realistically for what the subject matter is. I'll tell you this, another thing I was pleasantly surprised by was the lack of screaming lunacy for the bulk of the film. People just kind of spoke like people, which was a nice change of pace. Not every line of dialogue was a cringe attack-inducing clusterfuck of spitefulness. Nobody was trying to one-up the other, the adults acted like adults, characters were given enough background and substance to flesh them out and make them feel believable, which was nice, I appreciated that. There wasn't any agenda crammed in here to support any particular message, if you know what I mean. Female characters didn't need to physically assert themselves and still managed to be actual badasses, coming across as strong, driven, and competent human beings. And that's something tragically missing from contemporary movies. I think that's all I got to say about Poltergeist, guys. You got a couple of weekends left of spooky season. Go retro. Check out a classic. Go check out Poltergeist. And just remember, they're here.